What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and this video we have to talk about some PlayStation dormant franchises, what that means, the rumor that is going around, things are picking up. I really am starting to feel much more confident, about 2025 as a whole. So, okay, you go back a couple, 1 week ago, actually, at this point, right? Made the video, talked about how, obviously, Herman Hulst kind of dropped the news slash just kind of curiosity about, hey, we have older franchises, right? We aren't doing anything with. Maybe we'll do something with it. And that kind of combined with a lot of the rumors that we've heard over the last couple months. Well, how about a new rumor, and how about plural? How about more than one? Now, it's not any specific franchise. That's why we have to talk about what a dormant franchise is, and we'll go through it from there. But this comes from Andy Robinson of Video Games Chronicle. He knows his stuff. So they were doing a podcast. I'm actually just going to take this from DualShockers. It does a pretty good job of breaking all this stuff down. So they talked about Sony looking to bring back older titles back from the dead. On the most recent episode of the Video Game Podcast, he said that he knows of a couple that Sony is working on, like the deep cut old IP stuff, maybe smaller games supplementing their blockbusters. Now, before Robinson chimed in, the podcast crew talked about Fat Princess as an older, smaller IP from PlayStation that would fit the bill. So here's the thing. I have confidence, and I'm starting to build more confidence for Sly Cooper, okay? I'm always going to talk about that, and obviously I want nothing more than for Sly Cooper to return. The interesting thing, and I do have to step back and drop my bias for a second, the way he describes it doesn't necessarily sound like it. Now, funny enough, DualShockers' Jake Valentine, who wrote the article, he maybe was reading my mind because he actually kind of goes through, well, what makes sense, right? What are old, deep-cut games? And he actually says in the article, although we talk up Sly Cooper, Jack and Daxter, stuff like that, that could count. Now, I totally understand where he's coming from. Trust me, I want that to be true. I don't know. And that's kind of, part of what I want to talk about in this video. Have you guys, respond in the comments. What's a deep cut? What is an old game? Now, Fat Princess, that's a really good one, right? Because that's had a couple titles. If you say Fat Princess to somebody who's been around for 15, 20 years, they might know, right? But it is more of a deep cut, right? I think he mentions Ape Escape. I think that's a good one. Parappa the Rapper. Parappa has been around and, has appeared, say, in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. That's really where I first even knew of that character's existence. I think all the other characters I probably knew by then. So I think those are probably, at the end of the article, he says Ape Escape, Parappa the Rapper, and then Legend of Dragoon. And I think those are probably those deep cuts. Then the question would be, okay, those Jack and Daxters, those Sly Coopers. And really from that era, you can keep going, but those are probably the most realistic. Maybe Fat Princess, that's another one to throw in. When you go into the PS3 era, and I always bring it up, the thing is those aren't deep cuts, right? Now, these are just the things, by the way, he's heard of. Maybe there is a Sly Cooper thing happening and then a couple other deep cuts like a Fat Princess or whatever. But, if you go to PS3 and you go through, the list I always kind of bring up of Killzone, Resistance, of course, Infamous, right? Some franchises that I do want back, I feel like they're all kind of too big. Maybe Resistance is actually the smallest of that group. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale I bring up, Gravity Rush I bring up, and these are all, they're not deep cuts. These are not the smallest of the small. Now, I don't think Sly is either. Those three games actually sold pretty well, on average about 1 million units each. It's not selling 5-10 million units back 20 years ago, but it's not selling 200,000, right? Maybe a Medieval is one that's popular, but it doesn't define PlayStation, so maybe that would kind of fall under it. We've already gotten the remake for the first game, right? So those are that's kind of the era, and that's kind of the list of games that I think. But to kind of separate it just for a second, end this video, great to hear it. It could turn out to not be true, I guess, so maybe I'm setting myself up for failure, but things I just feel are lining up. We've heard about Sly 5, 6, 7 times. Astrobot comes out, does well. You have Herman Hulst talking about it that we covered, last week. And now you're starting to see, people that are plugged in that they know that there's already stuff in the works from PlayStation. And I always say this just in case, but I think some people tend to miss it. I'm not saying we need 50 of these games. I'm not saying to suddenly revert PlayStation to the franchises of 20 years ago. There needs to be a blend. That's all I've really ever asked for. Give me a blend of the Astrobot type games with the live service, with the open world. The thing is, games take so long and so much money and all this jazz we've talked about 1,000 times that you kind of have to just go all in or nothing, right? So it's like, well, let's make 10 live service games and nothing else. Let's make, these big open world games, which they kind of got into the habit of doing too. You can have them. I'm not saying that I don't want Helldivers or Spider-Man Horizon, stuff like that, but to have a balance, I think that's what PlayStation, to me, was always good at. For the last 20, 25 years that I've been a part of the PlayStation ecosystem, they're good at just all sorts of different ones, hence why I liked the PS3 era maybe more than anything, because you had your Uncharted's, you had like second-party games like the Heavy Rains, right? But you had Infamous, you had all of these games, you had actually the return of Sly Cooper back in that era too, so I just think they had a really good blend of indies and just all different kinds of genres, and that's when I kind of fell in love with PlayStation as a brand, I guess, or what they were capable of doing. And for the most part, I think they've lost it, in recent times. So just kind of mixing it up. That's all I've really asked for. You don't have to go all in. In fact, that's kind of anti, what I want in general, but give me just a little. And I'll take Sly and just Sly if that's all they want to do. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.